I want to take time to have a personal and honest conversation with you. For 43 years, I've been reporting and presenting the news here in Portland. But for the last several years, it's really been a challenge. It started when I was struck with a disease that robbed me of my ability to hear, to the point where even hearing aids really no longer help me. But recently, I made a life-changing decision. I would like to share with you my journey out of silence.
You know what to do. You've done this.
You're about to witness me fail. Audiologist Dr. Lindsay Hill is hooking me up, getting me ready for one of the countless hearing tests I've been subjected to over the last several years. Here's my button.
Yeah.
Okay, is it tones first?
Yeah.
Okay. Once I'm alone in the booth, Lindsay starts a computer program monitoring my responses. I'm reacting to beeps and sounds, repeating words and phrases.
She always wanted to be a ballerina.
No. The results of my audiogram, even with my hearing aids, I have almost zero sound and word recognition. I first started going deaf several years ago when I developed something called Meniere's disease.
Basically, Meniere's attacks can damage the hair cells in the inner ear. And when those hair cells are damaged, it's harder for them to pick up sound coming in, and then that sound, when healthy hair cells pick it up, that's transmitted to the auditory nerve, goes to the brain, and that's how we hear.
As I lost my hearing, I relied on a special device that streams sound directly to my hearing aid while I was presenting the news here in the studio. It was the only way I could function to do my job and communicate to you at home. But outside this studio and unconnected from that device, I struggled to hear my friends, my coworkers, my wife, my kids, my grandkids. I was lost, isolated, living in a world of silence. These are my grandchildren playing and laughing instead of taking a nap, but this is what I was hearing. How to hear again, to recognize sound, laughter, to lift the veil of silence. I made the decision to get a device called a cochlear implant.
So in the surgery, we made a little incision behind the ear in this area, and then we turned the ear forward, and then we exposed the bone back here called the mastoid bone.
Frank Warren is a doctor of otology and neurotology with the Oregon Clinic. For the last 7 years, he's treated my Meniere's disease and deafness. He will also perform the surgery, implanting the cochlear device, bypassing my damaged inner ear and directly stimulating my auditory nerve. He starts by showing how the device will be implanted behind my ear.
That is this tiny little piece that you can see there, kind of wraps around the cochlea. And then we tuck the other part of the device up under the skin, so it sits like this, and then the electrodes go down into the cochlea. Once that is there, then use this device to hear. So this sits on your ear, and then this magnet sits on the inside device. There's another magnet there. And then it communicates with it like that.
I have a lot of questions about how the implant works and my recovery time, but I'm moving forward. I want the chance to hear again. It's Operation Day. My wife Shannon is by my side. She's the only person who really knows how hard I've struggled over the last few years. She's gotten me through my bouts of frustration and isolation.
Put my arm under yours here. Good.
The staff at the East Pavilion Surgery Center at St. Vincent Hospital have been busy getting me ready all morning long with temperature and blood pressure checks. A few minutes before the operation, Dr. Warren stops by to see how I'm doing and explaining exactly how he'll perform the surgery.
Where do I make the incision? Kind of like towards the top of your ear to about midway down your ear, just right behind your ear. And then that's the opening that we use to make the approach to put the implant in.
The operation will take about 2 hours. Well, thanks for taking good care of me, and I know
you're welcome.
Take good care of me today. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. As I'm wheeled into surgery, I'm anxious but also excited. Will it be successful? Will I be able to finally hear again? Those are the last thoughts I have as I drift off from the anesthesia. Surgery lasted about 2 hours, so I'm still waking up from the anesthesia. I wake up groggy, but feeling pretty good. A pressure bandage on my right ear where Dr. Warren inserted the implant. But hopefully, once the cochlear implant is activated, I'll finally be able to hear again. Be able to hear my wife and my friends and my grandkids again, which really be awesome. My recovery will take a few days, but I will have to wait a few weeks for my implant to be activated. 28 days after surgery, it's activation day.
Hi.
We all set to go?
We are ready. Are you ready?
Audiologist Lindsay Hill will now turn on my implant for the very first time.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit excited but nervous. Shannon will be right beside me. Lindsay has already talked to me about what to expect once she activates the implant. I'm not going to hear perfect today, right?
Probably not. We have a long way to go. So the cochlear implant, to remind you, like a 6-month journey. And today is day 1. And so usually in the beginning, we start pretty low. It's a little hard to hear. You may hear some sounds today. You may hear voices. You'll probably hear a lot of background noise, a lot of garbled. And then tomorrow, it'll be better. The next day, it'll be better. It'll keep improving slowly but gradually, but we have to start somewhere, and this is where we start.
Lindsay shows me how my implant works, how to install the batteries, but most importantly, how to put it on, which takes some practice.
You'll know when it's on. You'll hear.
There it is. After running diagnostic tests to see that the implant is working properly, it's time to activate it, slowly and carefully.
I'm gonna go up a little.
Go up, okay.
All right, I brought it up a little bit more. Can you tell I made it louder?
Yes,
Yeah.
and a little more higher pitch.
Okay.
Lindsay continues to make adjustments to the volume and pitch, and suddenly, I start to hear sounds. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually hearing, which is amazing.
Good.
So,
Let me see if we hear Shannon's voice.
Can you hear my voice?
I can hear your voice. Yeah.
Does it sound loud, soft?
Soft.
Do you want me to go up?
Louder?
Go up a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm starting to hear words and voices for the first time in years. It's a bit overwhelming to me, and I find myself tearing up. Lindsay reminds me this is a long journey. My brain will adapt each day to hearing in a whole new way.
So we're just kind of working our way through, but you're doing fine. You're doing well. Some people don't hear speech day 1, and they can still do really well with the cochlear implant. So it's not that doing poorly or doing well today means we won't do well going forward, but hearing speech in the beginning is always a good sign.
Over the next few weeks, Lindsay will continue to adjust and calibrate my new implant. One month after activating my cochlear implant, I'm undergoing a test to measure my progress, listening to sounds, repeating words and phrases. You must live in a gingerbread house.
The cat was born with 6 toes.
The cat was born with 6 toes. I've noticed in the last few weeks that sounds are improving, but will my test results confirm it? Lindsay first gives me the results on how I did hearing tones and sounds.
Prior to surgery, on that right side, you got 0. You didn't get a single word in that ear. Today, you got 88% correct. That was awesome.
That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
As for words and phrases,
Prior to surgery, when we did that test, you got 6% of the words correct, and today you got 70% of the words correct.
okay.
And when you heard that long list of sounds, you got 11% before surgery and 83% today.
Okay.
We'll take it.
Over the next few months, Lindsay will continue to track my progress, and she reminds me of where I was before, feeling isolated and withdrawn.
I would say that hearing loss is so debilitating in that it affects our ability to socialize. It affects how willing we are to be in social environments, to communicate with loved ones, to go out to eat or go to concerts or go to different social events. And to me, it makes more sense to fix the underlying issue by aiding it with either a hearing aid or cochlear implant than struggling and therefore withdrawing from those environments because we're not willing to do something about it.
In my journey out of silence, I have a long way to go. There will be ups and downs, but I've learned to appreciate things I used to take for granted, and I'll take every day as it comes and delight in listening to the birds. Well, I'd like to give a special thanks to Dr. Frank Warren from the Oregon Clinic and audiologist Lindsay Hill from Pacific Audiology for helping me hear the birds again and everything else in the world. On KOIN.com right now, you can rewatch Journey Out of Silence. Also, you can watch a video podcast I did with Lindsay where we talk more in depth about Meniere's disease, hearing loss, hearing aids, cochlear implants, most importantly, how you can get help if you suffer from hearing loss. And judging by the amount of comments I've had on social media, there are hundreds and hundreds of people who have hearing loss problems and are afraid to do something about it. So reach out to an audiologist or an ENT doctor and they can help you. Down the road, I'll probably have to get a cochlear implant in this ear. But for now, I'm just enjoying hearing the birds.
Yeah, and just think about how you talked about, and Lindsay even said it was back in March. This is going to take about 6 months to fully get to that point, and you're about halfway through.
Yeah.
And you've come such a long way. We've always had these tests. I know one time you called me in the newsroom. You said, "Go over there. Let me see if I can hear you."
Yeah.
But you said I sounded kind of.
Well, my coworkers have been more than patient with me over the last few years, and I honestly couldn't have done this job without the technology that was streaming.
Yeah.
Even then I could barely hear, and you guys being so patient with me. But I urge you to go to our website, watch that discussion I have with Lindsay, rewatch the story, but most importantly, get help if you have hearing loss.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, is that how much your story, but also watching you. We've all seen these days where some days are a bit harder. That machine didn't work, the batteries ran out. You did not show that on air. I think so many viewers are just surprised to even know this, and that's what's great about you still being you.
Well, I was pretty good at faking it a lot of times. I really was. I was reading lips and doing a lot of other things. So anyway, I appreciate you letting me share that story with you.
We're so glad that you're able to
thank
open
you
up
for
about
doing
it.
that.
Yeah, I think you're going to help a lot of people, Jeff.
All right.
Yeah.